and or monitoring the chat for me?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Okay, we're going to we'll get started then, I think, here. Give me just one more minute. Okay, tonight we're going to start off with some polls. Hopefully this is going to work. Well, maybe short-lived. Okay, it's going to work, I think. Did the poll show up?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so the first question tonight is what league has home team wear dark and away team wear white? Okay, let's see, we got about 60% participation so far. Okay, so in sharing the results, can you see the results?
I can see him. Can everybody else?
Perfect. So by the rule nuances, it's only high school and middle school that require that the home team wear dark and the away team wear white. But many of the other leagues kind of seem to follow the same type of rule. But for high school and middle school, it is the home team wears the dark and away wears the light. Okay. Hopefully we're going to go to the next question. And can you see question 2?
I can see it.
Okay, with about 76% participation, we'll end the poll and share the results. So, of what I know, usually high school and maybe some middle schools, but mainly high school does have trainers. ECNL usually has trainers, so we're doing pretty good there. And I think a lot of our tournaments this summer had trainers at them. So what's the benefit of us having trainers at our games?
Helps with the issue when it comes to the concussion protocol.
Yes, Jason, perfect. It makes it so that concussions become very easy for us because we have somebody who can clear them So that way they can either come back onto the pitch or they have to stay off the pitch. So make sure that you recognize if you've got trainers, especially when you're doing your high school games, because they're the ones that are going to take that whole conversation about a head injury and potential concussion out of the equation for you. Any questions about trainers?
Does middle school have the training?
Ask that question again.
Middle school,
Which school?
middle school.
No, I know when I did a couple of them last fall, I didn't see them. Has anybody else seen trainers at middle school games?
No,
I have not.
maybe for a rich private school.
Yeah, middle schools, I don't think you're gonna see them.
Okay.
Richard,
Yes.
only because me, you, and Chase Parker inspect fields. Every school game that we go to, we must ask the question. What's the question we're supposed to ask?
You have a person authorized in concussion management.
Yep. Doesn't matter if they have trainers or not. We got to ask the question.
Okay. Thank you, Brian, for that clarification.
Off to the next field.
Okay, we're gonna go with our next polling question. So can you restart the match after the first thunder is heard or ground lightning bolt is seen 30 minutes afterwards? Sorry, I forgot the 30 minutes. Okay, we've hit 78% responding. And you gotta really pay attention to how questions are worded because you really can't do it until after the last thunder is heard or cloud to ground lightning bolt is seen. You have to wait 30 minutes after the last one, not the first one. Okay, on to substitutions. Which of the leagues allow unlimited substitutions? Oh, it's taking people a little longer here.
Yeah, click more buttons.
Okay. So definitely Washington Premier League, Youth Soccer, Cascadia Premier League, the Men's Federal Way League does. ECNL does not. They have substitution rules which limit what you can do in regards to substitutions. Founders Cup is unlimited. The U15 through U19 state championship is limited. Girls for the U15 through the U19. under U15, it is unlimited. Ryan, isn't Girls Academy limited?
Yes, it is.
Yep. Girls Academy has substitution limitations. And the Hummel Cup, for those that did adult games, those also have limited substitutions. So really the purpose of this slide was to make sure that when you do any different league, to make sure you understand what the substitution rules are for that league. So that way you get that correct. That's one of my complaints that I get often, in that referees don't know what the substitution rules are for their league.
Does that really show, Richard, that only 7% of people got the ECNL ones right?
I mean, 7% answered that.
Answered that question. Okay.
So we're not that bad.
So no, 93% got it correct. would
Okay, that's
be
good.
how- Yes.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Next is, which league require players to leave the field after being cautioned? Okay, with 75 participation rate, we will share the results. So as far as I know, the only league that requires that the player leave the field after being cautioned is high school and middle school.
Except,
The goalkeeper.
Yes, thank you, Brian, for that clarification. Okay, next is, which leagues call offside at the build out line? Okay, with 84% participation, we will share the results. And no, Brad, it's not the Federal Way Parks. So this was, I purposely asked this question because we do have a difference between our two youth leagues, and WPL calls offside at the halfway line, not the build out line. Washington Youth Soccer, which also then incorporates most recreation, and if not all recreation in the state, as the league that actually has you call offside at the build out line.
Do people know where to find whether or not the game they're assigned to is WPL or Washington Youth Soccer? No. So pay attention to the website and the authority, right? Does it say WPL or does it say something else? If it's WPL, they hate it when we misapply their rules and start doing a build out line.
Check the rosters when you check them in. Check the rosters.
Yeah.
It's usually a great opportunity to ask the coaches too during check-in. What are we playing today?
Okay, last question tonight is who's the best assigner? So I put this on here because I think it's important to recognize that on the Northwest Soccer officials, there are multiple assigners. And as you can see, the Zips, they assigned Auburn Parks and the MRFC. Ryan, which leagues, which clubs do you assign for?
They change names often, but Dragons, Eagle Claw, Cascade FC, and then the high school. And I have a couple of NPFC teams, Normandy Park, and then the OL Reign.
Okay, Craig, your turn.
So the WPL Development League, so the U9 and U10 games played at Starfire. The Starfire co-ed games, those are 11v11. Also the Starfire 8v8 games played on the small fields, as well as Starfire tournaments.
And then I don't see Robert on tonight, but Agulous FC has come back, and so Robert assigns for Agulous. Rachel's helping me assign Valor, Pac Northwest, Starfire tournaments, high school, and some of the other adult leagues. Andy Johnson is the Washington Premier assigner and is actually stepping down. And I know we should have an announcement of who will be the Washington Premier assigner soon. Phil Berg, with the merging of Federal Way Soccer Association and Pac Northwest, Phil will be joining me in assigning Pac Northwest games. And Bruce Sugiyama is the Des Moines Parks and Rec assigner. And we just got confirmation from them that we'll be helping them out again this fall like we did last spring. Kelsey assigns EPLY. And then Christian Smits is the Cascade Premier, or what is it, Cascade Foothills club. There's too many clubs with the word Cascade in it out there in Enumclaw. And I know many of you trek out to Enumclaw every now and again to help Christian out in that area. So with that, I think that's the end of my polling questions for the night, and we'll dive into the presentation I have. I'm going to share screen, hopefully. And for those that aren't sure who's assigning a game, we try to make it as easy as possible. And if you go, when you go into inquiry, and if you want to know who assigns the game,
Boy,
I am looking for a crew at 9 o'clock on Wednesday morning. But you can see that the assigner is Richard Meeks for this particular game. If I go back and I see we have a Starfire tournament, and I know that there's a possibility of 3 different people, if not 4 different people who could be assigning it, I can just go in and I'll see that Ryan's the assigner for the tournament this weekend. And it looks like Ryan may be looking for some officials this weekend as well. Any questions about assigners? Anything in the chat, Jeremy?
There was a question earlier from Peter. My understanding from the training videos is there is an emphasis to cut down on dissent, both for ourselves and future young refs. Yes or no?
So I think I think we are having less tolerance for dissent. And that I encourage all of us to use ways to try to curtail it. And keeping with the ask, tell, remove strategy of asking them to stop in regards to their dissent, cautioning and telling them that they need to stop. Hopefully we don't get to the third step of doing a red card for 2 dissents. But yes, I think we need to get dissent out of the games because it ruins the entertainment value of soccer.
And then one more question. Are there easy links to each league's rules on the website? I'm assuming, Connor, you mean the NSO website, or is that something we find on the league's website?
Great question. So if you go into information under documents, we have tried to put the different leagues rules. So look at that. You'll see the
What?
Des Moines Parks and Rec youth rules here. I also have, you'll see the Girls Academy rules. I think we have the ECNL guidelines. So you should pretty much be able to find a league's rules on this page. If you go in here and cannot find a league's rules, please reach out to me because I will help you find it and then I'll get it put on this page for you.
Big one or little one?
Doesn't matter.
There you go. Your choice.
Good boy.
Anything else, Jeremy?
That's it so far.
Perfect. Keep the okay. This is some of the things we're going to cover real quickly. We kind of were in the last, we used 2 platforms out of Northwest Soccer Officials, one being Ridgestar. I showed you how to do the inquiry. After you do a game, and if you have misconducts, when you come up here, you're going to see what match reports you're missing. And so if I go in and complete my match reports, if I have a misconduct in it, often after I complete my match report, up will come a line here that will tell me I have misconducts to get done. Now, I've heard some people tell me that that's not actually true and that link isn't coming back up. So all I need to do is go into misconducts here on the left-hand side. And on some browsers, it's going to kick you out, is what I've learned. But if I go back in, it will let me in this time. Here's where you'll see the misconducts that I've done in the past. And all I need to do is hit that prompt symbol, type in my match number, and after that, it will give me the information to be able to do my misconduct report. And it's pretty easy. You just need to fill out the information. Some of this will be pre-populated. In regards to the match, I need to make sure that I put in the player's name and number, if it was a caution or a send-off, what it was for, where it was located on the field, what minute it happened, and then I need to describe what occurred for that misconduct being issued. I already showed you the information page that will give you the documents. And under the documents, you'll be able to find league rules as well as some other useful items. We all try to provide information in this what's new. So you'll see we have a fitness test coming up on the 17th at Kent Lake High School, which I actually think is at Kent Ridge now. But when you go to sign up for the fitness test, you'll be able to know for sure when you do that on the WA referees website for those that are doing the fitness test in September. You'll see we also have the upcoming Zoom meetings as well as tournaments and other type of useful information throughout the season. So that's a great another resource where you may be able to find current information. For those of you who know people who may want to become a referee, here's a good place to send them to be able to look up what clinics are coming up, and then links them to the SRC website so that they can register. And then we already talked about match reports. Anybody have any questions about RidgeStar that they've always wondered about and maybe we can answer for you today?
Ross, you okay?
No question in
Okay.
the chat currently, no.
Perfect. Then we're going to move on to Arbiter. Those of you who are doing high school and middle school games, this is the screen that you're going to see when you go into Arbiter. What's important for us in Arbiter is that you'll, of course, have your schedule. And if you, wow, that didn't work correctly. Sorry about that. Let me get in the right view. Okay, so now if I go into my schedule, this will tell me what games I have upcoming that's already there. And if I hit the self-assign, I can then go in and search for available games on the NSO website that will not conflict with existing games that I already have and or for blocks that I've set up. If I know I'm going to be up in the Seattle area and I want to pick up a game there, then I'm going to go and click on the Washington Sock Refs group. And again, if I hit search, it's then going to search for me all the available games that will fit into my schedule. But it looks like those games haven't been released for open assignment yet. And then if I'm down in the Tacoma area, I can click on the Pierce County and be able to get on Pierce County and see what available games are there. If you don't have the Pierce County or the WA Refs group on your Arbiter account and you are often up north and or down south and would like those added, please email me and I will connect you with the right person so you can get on those games. So that way we can get you on high school or middle school games that fit into your schedule and location. Blocks is another piece that is very useful. It may help you in not getting as many texts from me in regards to getting games covered. But if you want to put your blocks in here of when you're not available, that helps communicate to Ryan and I in regards to availability. So if I go to today, August 22nd, I currently don't have any blocks. But if I go to the 30th, you'll see that I've put in there that I've blocked that whole day because I'm not available to officiate games. Anybody have any questions in regards to some of the functionality of Arbiter?
The Earl of Bruce would like to know, do we have to reset pay account on Arbiter?
If you have your pay account set up in Arbiter already, it should work just fine. But if you have changed your banks, you may want to update your banks. Match reports, after you've had a game, you'll see that I have my settings set to this month, or you can have it set to future. And then when you come back into your schedule, you'll see here I have ours for the games that have happened in the past. These are all green because I've put my match reports in. But if I come in here after a game, it would be red. And then once I click on it, I can go in and enter the score. And when I then put that, I've entered that information and hit enter, it'll come back here and it will be green. Any other questions about Arbiter?
Just a reminder there, Richard, to follow up on the match report. So I had to text, several people last year about getting those in the night of your game. So if you're an AR, remind your center to fill it out as they're walking away. And if you are the center, make sure you get in there and you do it the night of your game so that we're not chasing you down and harassing you.
And remember, when you fill out your match report the day of, you receive your full payment and your crew receives your full payment. if you turn your match report in for a day late, you are penalized and everybody loses a percentage of their match fees.
Oh, shit. Seriously?
Bruce has a question, I think.
Yeah, so about the payment stuff, I tried to transfer my payment, my amount, but they asked me the account setting, which already I have, but they still asking. So what do you want me to do about it?
If you're having problems getting your pay stuff out of Arbiter, there's a support line to call. And you just call Arbiter Pay Support and they'll work with you on getting that out. We don't handle any of the transferring of the money. Just call their support line, they'll get it worked out for you.
All right, thanks.
So I'm just going to reiterate the same thing that Bruce just experienced was when I went into Arbiter, even though I don't have any pay pending, when I go to the pay page, it's still asking for you to relink your account.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as
Yeah,
you can
that's
see,
the one.
I haven't done that yet. So I'll go in and do that. And then Bruce, I might be able to help you.
Okay, so just text me or whatever after you
Okay.
done. Thanks.
Yeah, that hadn't happened to me yet. So I'll take a look and then maybe I'll know the answer.
Okay, that's enough. Thank you.
Thanks, Craig. Any other questions about Arbiter? Okay, misconducts. So
Sorry, Richard, my apologies, I was on mute.
That's okay, Jeremy.
If I decline a game that has been rescheduled, Arbiter seems to automatically block that time for all groups. How do I unblock it?
What I'm going to recommend is that the next time that happens, I think many people know Arbiter is not my favorite platform. So I'm going to try to explain this the best I can. It's very buggy. And so sometimes I feel like after I've turned back something, I can sometimes unblock. I can take those blocks off myself and delete them. And other times I cannot, but I often can go and ask the assigner of that game that I turned back to unblock to delete my block. That's my best answer that is proven. I don't know, Ryan, do you have anything there?
Yeah, no, I've experienced the same thing. It's just every once in a while I can usually update my blocks, but every once in a while something will get hung up and I just call Arbiter and ask them for help to remove something if I really want to go get on something. But you should be able to update everything right here. It's supposed to work.
If you decline
Okay, Jeremy, any other questions?
if you decline a game or if you return a game, Arbiter will automatically block out that time frame. Just communicate with your assigner, and I know that every assigner on this call will gladly reset your blocks because they know you're going to get a game.
Okay, no more questions at this point.
Okay. Misconducts. So Sandy, I've heard Sandy Hunt make this comment a few times. She does the assigning for the D1 schools on the West Coast, and that your second caution should be for something worse than the first. So this relates back to my comment that I hope that we don't have any double cautions for dissent, because we should have something more severe than dissent for the second caution. I'm hoping that you as a referee will be creative in dealing with the issue, and often coaches can be a good resource. The other pieces on the Ridgestar website for NSO, there's actually a document called cautionable and sending off offenses. I encourage you to use that when you are filling out your misconduct reports. With also then using the who, what, when, where, how in describing what occurred in the notes. So that way, when you take the time to complete your misconducts, the disciplinary committees will uphold that misconduct, and that way that player will be appropriately disciplined for the action that they took on your game. Anybody have any questions about misconducts before we move off that topic? Okay. So next, I have no COVID-19 updates, so we'll go over that one quickly. Washington Youth Soccer does have digital player cards and cards probably on rosters. I left this on here because I just want to say our job as referees is to get a roster and check players in. If we're missing pieces of that, we need to be creative on how we get those games to be played. We have thousands of games that are going to occur over the next 3 months, and teams really don't have the ability to reschedule. So if they're missing a roster, a piece of paper with them handwriting it all in for you will serve you to be able to get that game played that day, and then let the teams do the work of complaining to the leagues if the other teams didn't follow the appropriate protocols. But let's make sure that we're doing the best job that we can in regards to having a roster so we can do misconducts and checking the players in when we have cards, whatever way they come, and making sure we then can get games covered. Anybody have any questions or concerns around rosters and player cards?
Take pictures of your rosters with the numbers on them for later.
Yep, that's another way if you're short on, if people are short on copies of the roster.
And speaking from tough experience, sometimes you wish you had a picture of that roster that had the numbers on them.
And I've heard, you know, as referees, we need a copy of the roster. If a team only gives us one copy, we walk away with the one copy. If the other team wants a copy, tell them to go get it from the team. Don't give up your copy. Art has his hand raised.
Some other advice, especially for those recreational games. These first couple of weeks of the fall season, you got volunteer coaches, you know, give them some guidance. There's a lot of stuff they're trying to absorb. Help them out. You know, if they may come with player cards that are not laminated, let them know, like, hey, good thing to have next time is make sure you get these laminated. But at least they have the player cards. So give them a little grace if you can. You know, they're in the right direction. And look for those other things you can help them with, like point them back to their club. You know, it looks like you got something of a roster. You know, if you have enough experience, you know what it should be looking like. Give them some guidance. Maybe go talk to your club to make sure you have the right type of roster for your fall season. You'll get some very interesting rosters or player cards, their interpretation of a player card these first couple weeks.
Yeah, thanks, Art. I appreciate that.
And SSUL rosters will have pictures on them this season, so they do not need separate player cards.
Yeah, I wish all the leagues could get to the rosters with pictures. It makes it so much easier for us as referees and as managers of teams, so that they don't have to track two things. They just have one thing to track. Again, this gets back to making sure you understand the rules of the competition that you're officiating. ECNL wants to make sure that you complete their game day sheets that are also your rosters, putting in your misconducts as well as your goals. RCL also has the misconducts and goals, and the managers are required to go and enter that into the system that they use for the games, because the yellows and reds, or yellows and reds, or cautions and send-offs, are tracked within that system. And when a player hits 5 yellows, I think it then removes them from the roster, or helps the disciplinary committee realize that they have so many cautions so far this season, and that has to be addressed. So please read your league rules for the games you're going to do. You know, all of us know ECNL and Girls Academy pay more than the other leagues, and that's because they have higher expectations of you in making sure you get your paperwork completed, because it has more paperwork, and turned in appropriately. So make sure you're looking at the website and getting those league rules. Mod soccer, again, U8 is now a division, age division for RCL, and they're following the U9 through U11 rules. Make sure that you understand the differences in regards to the punt and drop kicks. Nobody can do those except for the U12 for mod soccer. Same with heading and the build out line and offside. As Jeremy said earlier in the meeting tonight, one good way to make sure you are on the same page as the coaches is just reminding and or asking nicely in a way that confirms that these are the 4 rule nuances for mod soccer, and that for today's competition, that these are the way that we'll be enforcing them. And then that helps to make sure we're all on the same page in regards to the build out line, because that's probably the biggest concern that gets expressed to us, because referees don't appropriately apply the build out line rule for offside because of WPL having one interpretation and Washington Youth Soccer having a second. And before anybody says it, yes, we did try to get them to be on the same page, but they feel like they need to be different. Any questions or comments about mod soccer rules? Okay, moving right along. In high school, there's a little bit of a rule nuance for jewelry. And for a while, this was a huge emphasis. Jewelry is not allowed on the pitch, even if it is taped up, as IFAB laws have been added to. If you do have jewelry, I'm not sure jumping at the coach and giving them the yellow because somebody forgot to take their necklace off is going to be your best approach, and probably not going to get you off to the right foot with that coach. So I encourage you to make sure that when you see the jewelry, especially before the game, have it getting taken off, and or if that player may have an equipment issue that they need to correct, instead of having to have a coach be cautioned. Often people ask the question in regards to misconduct consequences, and this is the ones for high school. Brian, are these the same way they're still doing it this year?
Woke him up.
I got to read your thing, Richard.
That's cool.
Jesus.
I think that the important piece here is that for a second yellow, as of right now, players don't sit out another game for that ejection. If a player does get sent for violent conduct, they get suspended for 20% of the games for the season.
Richard,
so yep.
This is stuff that we as referees do not have to concern ourselves with. We do our job. The disciplined people do their job. Yep.
No, we just like to make sure everyone knows that the consequences of their misconduct. So that way we're doing our part to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. And then usually serious foul play is going to be a 1-game suspension. And so the important part here is that when we do our misconducts, that we issue them according to the laws of the game. And then, as Brian said, the league then takes care of what next steps need to happen in regards to the disciplinary process. For any of you who do give a red card on a high school game, you need to call Ryan after your game to let him know that you've given the red card. And then you have to get onto the central hub and complete your misconduct report that night. And Ryan often will help you work through the appropriate way to write up your send-off. Any questions or comments about high school misconducts?
I've had coaches after matches ask me about red card suspension duration, like after the match, and I always refer them to their AD basically, so that they'll be able to help you out with that. But if it's a dog's or whatever, you can probably tell them it's not gonna be very long. So.
And Brian, if a coach wants to protest a misconduct, they just really need to work that through their AD the next day. Isn't that correct?
That is correct.
Brian, I know that I hate to put you on the spot, but you're our high school expert here. I believe there was an email that was sent out, and I'm not sure if it just went to the assigners and or to all the high school officials in regards to conduct that may interfere with the game and may be racially motivated. And how I kind of thought of it was, I know that lately we've seen some games on national TV, whether it be the Premier League or the MLS or even some international play, where officials have stopped the game because of things that are going on from the spectators, things that have been said to players, etc. And I think WOA issued some guidance for us in regards to how we're supposed to handle that. Do you want to expand on that, or did that get sent to all the officials?
That got sent to the assigners. And it seems, if you read it, if you take a second, read it, it's pretty clear. But don't hesitate to send it out to all of your officials if you so like.
Okay. Perfect. I will send that out to the high school officials for you to read. And then if you have questions about it, don't hesitate to reach out to me.
So you will notice that there's some acronyms, NFHS. This came out, I think, last basketball season, and obviously they don't have USSF laws or rules, and they go with NFHS. But whenever you see NFHS, just substitute USSF.
Perfect. Okay, any other questions about kind of the league rules that we've gone over tonight? Jeremy, is there anything in the chat for questions?
Not yet. I asked Dave Agostavo a direct question. He chose not to answer it, but that's fine.
I'm only watching this thing right now. I'll run my mouth in a second.
All right.
I have
So
a
now that
question regarding match reports for high school. On the field, you're not really getting any paperwork, right? We're not checking people in for high school, and we're not really getting like a typical club or select level paperwork.
Right. So for high school, all you're going to do is gather rosters from each team. So that way, then you have that in case you have any ejections. Otherwise, all you have to do is go into Arbiter and complete that. The center referee has to complete that match report. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so now that I got through all the boring stuff, but hopefully the stuff that's going to set you up for success, because those rule nuances for all the different leagues can become confusing, and hopefully the refresh of the information will help you be successful. And now I'm going to pass it over to Dave Agostavo, who does the assigning, helps with is one of the assigners up in the Washington refs group that goes anywhere north of the South King County area, almost up to, I want to say, Bellingham. Dave also assigns all of the pro stuff in regards to USL, is it? And DA, and then I don't know if there's even DA stuff left with Sounders or not. So Dave, if you want to talk a little bit about what you do assign, that'd be fantastic. But then otherwise, Dave's going to give you some soft skills that hopefully, with knowing the information I just shared, will help your games be successful this fall.
So am I coming through? Can you hear me clear enough?
I can hear you, Dave.
All right, so Wilkins and Augustavo, along with Brian Arms, assign Washington Soccer. So all the stuff north and Kinco, Wesco Metro, all the way up to all but Whatcom. So you can connect through Brian Arms or myself, or Richard will help you. So I want to ask everybody here for a second. One, I appreciate what everybody does. The fact that you take the time, make this a priority and all that sort of stuff, that you drop your guard a little bit here and respect a lot of different styles and personalities, because it's not real easy to talk, and it's real easy to find the kinks in somebody's, aha, look at the way they point their flag and all that other kind of crap. But I'm going to talk about two things that I think can help you, if you walk by a mirror and look at it, become better, a better polished product of yourself. I didn't say change you, but a better polished product of yourself. So I'll rattle some stuff off about, one, the word relationship. And then my second topic will be something to do with making mistakes and recovering from your mistakes. They're kind of connected, they're kind of not. I find it more than ironic that in page 52 of this week's Ref Magazine, I got it an hour ago, they talk about you officiate who you are. And I say you officiate your personality. But with all the respect for everybody, the word relationship to me in soccer as a referee, with our crew, with the coaches, is critical in our success. And I'll rattle off a couple examples. You walk up to a field and you don't know anybody. For me, in the last 2 months, I've gone and uncomfortably officiated co-ed games for Mets where I didn't know anybody there. That is odd. And I have to learn exactly what I'm running my mouth about right now, which is keeping your mouth shut, which is when somebody says something to you about a decision, do you immediately go justify it by telling them how brilliant you are? Or don't you know I'm the national assigner? They don't care about any of that stuff. But a couple things that enter my mind, whether it's high school, whether it's youth, is you walk up, and this is whether they're I'm talking about just coaches at the moment. You walk up to a field and you've never met either coach. How do you handle that? You know one coach, but you don't know the other. How do you handle that? Don't think people aren't watching. You know both coaches. How do you handle that? You handle them each in a different fashion if you want the quote unquote wind at your back. But you go to a coach before a game, do you say things like, I'm going to let him play today, or I'm a player's rep, or all that other kind of stuff? My recommendation, if you know one coach and you don't know the other, is to bring them together and talk to them. Just a thought. Other things that pop into my head. When you go to do deal with coaches, a lot of these youth coaches get paid a lot of money to coach these kids. That's not the same, not to be confused with a high school coach who's got one team, gets paid $5 or $6 grand, not 80 grand to coach 3 and train them. It's a very different, your human skills and personality need to come out, but I think each of them are dealt with in a different fashion. You don't deal with a 19 boys coach the same way you deal with the U8 girls or boys, whatever it is, coach. And if I mumble words, I have 5 daughters, so give me wiggle room. But the relationship thing is a big deal in soccer. I think it's the biggest thing we deal with. Are there any questions on that? If you have a specific question, if not, I just wanted to, because I'll hit on that throughout the years I write to the Washington Soccer Group. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to hit something first. I'm going to kudos to Jeremy and Richard Meeks and Craig Allen for the fact that you guys have gone to places where you knew no one in my world of assigning. And to me, that is an incredible testimony to you for wanting to take on a challenge and learn relationships and go and see people. Because when you come back the second time in the relationship world, they know what they're getting. And it's a lot more comfortable for you too. We could talk about that forever. Anybody at the community college thing in the next couple of days, you can beat up on me about that. The main thing I want to talk about is recovering from a mistake. Okay, to go forward, Richard.
You're good, Dave.
Okay, is recovering from a mistake. When I run the semis and finals and I sit the referees down, and all of you that are down there for high school, you go, okay, what's your biggest fear when you walk into high school semis, finals, or any game for that matter? And I think if I pinned you, you guys would say, you girls, ladies would say, fear of making a mistake, and maybe a little further, one that has an impact on the outcome of the game. And I think particular area is one we've got to get better at. And I'm going to give you 2 examples. I asked permission. One is me, who just absolutely butchered something. And then another one, I asked permission for the referee. Yusuf Hanafi ran a U19 boys final the other day at Crossfire tournament. I was on the game with him. The teams had fought the day before. He's in the middle. He runs well. He did a great job in the game. The score was 3-0. He made a penalty. The ball got shot toward the goal, and a kid caught the ball, and it wasn't the goalie. You guys have letters for that call it what, dog so or whatever it is. So he stands there and he pulls out a yellow card for the kid. And I'm kind of looking at that and going, oh crap. No one said a word. The AR comes down the line. Hey, come on over here. No refs were, no coaches were screaming, no parents were screaming. Yellow card, obvious red. AR says to him, hey, that's a red card. And he pulls a red card out, sends a kid off, and the kid, everybody knew it. And I thought, how many times do we make calls or make decisions? Now, the fact that nobody said a word, I was really impressed because he'd done a great job on the game, hadn't run his mouth, hadn't inserted himself. The players could trust him. They knew he knew what he was doing. And so he made a mistake. Big deal. I wouldn't have let the kick be taken without the kid getting tossed. But I thought, okay, nice job. We got it right. Now we'll back up a couple weeks, and I'm running a co-ed game for Larry Metz at Magnuson. And it's hard for me to ref co-ed games. I'm watching the game gets going, trying to figure out who the good girls are, the good guys. Robbie in the back's about a 6'3" guy with a tank top, and he's not a soccer player, but he's a pretty good athlete. 1-0. We're 20 minutes into the game. Robbie's team's got a corner kick. They take the corner kick. It comes across. Robbie's kind of trying to go get it, and two guys push him down. I blow my whistle. I got a penalty kick. People are screaming at me. Richard, you know what they're screaming at me for?
I don't. It's been a while.
Okay, well, normally they're screaming at you. So anyhow, the ball goes long, a kid collects it with his feet and kicks it in the goal. These people are just screaming, ref, we scored a goal. There was expletives, there was everything. And I'm going, oh my God, that's horrible. And I just looked and I went, that is horrible reffing. And it, 1, 2, 3, they look at it going, what did you just say? I said, that is horrible reffing. And it's like, nobody says that as a referee. I'm thinking it was embarrassing, but okay, whoop-de-doo. So who's taking the penalty kick but Robbie? And so I'm standing there, I go to the goalie and I say, you know the rule here, I feel like a fool. The guy goes, yeah. I go to Robbie, I'm standing next to him, I go, wait for my whistle. And I looked at him, I went, Robbie, if you don't make this penalty kick, I'm gonna have 70 minutes of hell. Robbie stuck the ball went in the goal. I'm sitting there shaking my head and these people are looking up going like, you're different. But thank God the ball went in the goal. I say that because I've got a little bit of humor. I don't have a problem making mistakes. I'm picking on myself. It was a horrible decision. A patient whistle would have led to a goal. But I think when we make mistakes, we are not very good at owning them. When 10 people in the crowd are yelling at you, you're wrong. I don't want to be right. It's like being at home. I don't want to let them have their way. I'm not, and when you make a mistake and people are screaming at you, and then you what? You run your mouth, defend your decision, pull out a yellow card, and people don't want you back. So how we recover from our mistakes is huge. And I think that's getting the wind at your back, setting the table. Are you a player's referee? Are you approachable? Are you human? Or do you think you are gospel? And I'm respecting everybody's personality, introverts, extroverts, quiet people, loud mouths like me. But I think that's something we could do a better job of. And I raised the topic to kind of stir a little bit, as my kids would say, Dad, you just stir the pot, and that seems to be what you do. So that's all I had with those two topics. And I said, I so appreciate what everybody does for soccer, and anything I can do to help you along with Brian and Richard and all, please let us know. Any questions, Richard, or any other thoughts you want to add on?
You know, Dave, the one thing I will just add on in regards to kind of that theme of mistakes is I'm just going to say taking risk. I can't stand officiating games where I have a coach yelling every play they want made and watching those players no longer taking risk on the field because they're afraid if they don't do what the coach is yelling at them to do, they're going to miss out on playing time. And I think as refs, we sometimes have to take risk in regards to how we officiate as we grow as officials. And I think you have to give yourself some grace that when you do take risk to grow as official, to know that you're not going to get it right every time. I encourage you to take the risk on maybe your less challenging games. And over the next 3 months, I know that many of us will have some challenging games that are going to stretch us in regards to our abilities. And then we're going to probably take some games that are going to be at the lower ages and lower levels, but we're trying to help out all of our great assigners to get games covered. And those are good games in which maybe you do want to take some risk in regards to making yourself develop as an official. So that's what I would have to add, Dave.
Can I leave one parting line that I wrote here that I thought, rather than talking about no, you're wrong. I mean, the word no and putting your hands up just blows people. It just irritates anybody and everybody, the art of getting along with folks. But my line I came across the other day, I pulled my car off the road and wrote it down, was humor is a great solvent for many abrasive situations. Do we match them at the same level that they come at us? And when we do, what are you gaining from that? It ultimately becomes a piddling contest and a card. And the idea of how can you disarm someone, or as line's been used before, what's wrong with them thinking they're right? And that's a pretty loaded comment, because if you give them the facial expression that they're a doofus and they have no idea what they're talking about, they're not going to get that, walk away with that feeling. And now, whatever skills you have, play them and polish them, so it becomes more enjoyable, and entertaining and for everybody. So thank you for giving me the time, Dave. So it's like Wayne's World. Yeah, so don't think for a second I missed that. So
I appreciate it, Dave. You always have great wisdom and knowledge and experience to share with our officials, and hopefully somebody or most of you will walk away today and games will go smoother in regards to the knowledge that Dave shares with us that you don't find in the laws of the game. So I do appreciate that, Dave.
Thank you.
Okay. Building a little bit on that, those thoughts, I probably have about another 5 or 10 minutes for those that want to stick around. If you don't want to stick around, feel free to drop off. I don't want to make these lengthy, but I do have a few more things that I think might be useful. I think some of you have probably seen presentations of mine in the past. And as we get out here in our league games, I just want to remind you that as refs, we are fulfilling many responsibilities and wear many different hats. And we really are the CEO of our game. Everyone is looking at us to make sure that it starts on time. We make sure that we enforce the laws of the game. We keep our players safe, which is our safety officer hat. And we have customers. Our customers are the players, the coaches, and the spectators. They're there to consume what we're providing, which is a referee service. We also have clients, and our clients are our soccer clubs, those that have chosen Northwest Soccer officials to get their referee services from. And we need to work with them to make sure that we're providing a good product. Not only in the level of which we officiate at, but in regards to making sure we're getting their games covered so that way they continue to be able to attract players to their clubs. I know that many of us have different personalities that we have during our day jobs or us as students. But some of us in those roles or personalities may not be as conducive to the referee title that we wear when we go out and officiate. And so I try to convey to people that sometimes we may need to recognize the pitch as a stage, and that way we may need to be an actor and may need to provide a performance of more of an extroverted person than an introverted person. So that way I'm showing confidence, and that way the spectators, the coaches and players are buying the product that I'm selling. So those are just a few ways to think about the game beyond the laws of the game that maybe will help you think about the different ways in which you may be given feedback and help you maybe be more successful in officiating. Evaluation. So I don't know how many of you have actually ever gone in to see if there's an evaluation on you on the website, but if you want to, you can always log into the website and see if there's a evaluation. Let's see here. If you go to referee and look up evaluations, you'll see that my last evaluation that someone did for me was on a boys U19, and I got an overall as a 7. But if you actually go in here, it will lay out what they ranked me as and what they gave me in regards to their comments. This is a piece of information that is feedback that someone took the time to provide to me, and it's their perception of the performance that I provided. It may be completely supported, or it may not be, because they just are upset that they lost. But for every evaluation that you get, I think it's important to read, and hopefully it will give you some insight into your officiating. The other place that if you've been mentored by a mentor, all of our mentors go in and complete a feedback form. And so if you click on that feedback form, anytime you've been mentored, you'll be able to go in and see the comments that they made to you after the match in that debrief. So that's another way to go back and look at, if you are like, hey, Richard really gave me some good information about positioning and he described it in a good way. I want to go back and read that, so that way I can refamiliarize the ideas that he gave me. Anyways, back to evaluations. These are some of the things that people have put in evaluations over the last couple years. I encourage you not to say these things in your games, because as you can see, it resonated with the individual who went in and took the time to complete the evaluation. And for me, this isn't something that I would want somebody writing about me. So here's a good way to improve on your professionalism. Again, as I always say, you have personal responsibility and can control your appearance, your professionalism, and your fitness. Fitness is an important component of officiating. Our athletes, our players train during the week, probably 2 to 3 times, and usually play a game on the weekend. And I think if we want to be successful in our games, we may need to do some training as well, so that way our fitness matches the athletes that are on the field. You control your schedule. Make sure in high school you're updating your blocks, and make sure that when you self-assign to games that your schedule allows for it. Remember, if you on the RidgeStar site, although we allow people to turn back games up to 7 days prior, we allow people to turn back games. If you turn back within a week, you're still responsible for that match until somebody else picks it up for you. So if you are turning back a match and it's not letting you go, but you truly cannot make it because your team's schedule game time has changed, you need to reach out to that assigner to let them know, no, Richard, really, I can't come to that 9 o'clock game because I have to be in Bellingham to play in a game at 11 o'clock. Otherwise, we will be looking at you as the one that's going to take that game. And then 24 hours prior to the game, you're not allowed to turn it back. And if something comes up, you need to reach out to the assigner directly. And then always seize opportunities. Many of you over the next several months, make sure you're checking your phones between your games or at halftime. Your assigners will be reaching out because they may have games that they need to get covered. And when we need to get games covered, we often give people opportunities and may give games that will stretch your reffing ability, and you may get games that are of higher level or caliber than you would be able to self-assign to through the website. Here's a few educational sites, or I call them educational in a way. All 3 of these, they are on the What's New section of the RidgeStar site, but these are great videos that each week get updated, or I actually get new ones added, and they walk through different scenarios and games from a referee perspective and provide commentary and how enforcements of the laws of the game should occur. So this is a great resource if you're not already utilizing it. Finally, kind of what's next. We will be doing a fitness test in September. People who pass fitness tests, that helps you in your ranking on the NSO games. We also have State Cup, both for Washington Youth Soccer and Washington Premier League. And so Craig does the assigning for the Washington Premier League and I do for the Washington Youth Soccer. So if that interests you in any of those different levels, make sure you connect with us so that you are considered for those. And although we are coming to the closure of our summer tournaments by East Side this coming weekend and then Labor Day Cup the first weekend of September, we still do have the tournament, the college showcase down at Starfire over the Thanksgiving Day weekend. And then of course, gearing up for then Winter Classic, the second and third weekend of January. And for those of you who want to advance as an official, I know that there have been some grassroots advanced classes being offered off of the Washington State Referee Committee website. Do go on there. It's 100% online. You do some online sessions and then they have a Zoom call to kind of as a capstone of that material. So I encourage you to go and complete your advanced grassroots referee training. And then with that, you do have the opportunity to come to the Pro Clinic. Hopefully this year we'll have a Pro Clinic in March because we haven't had it the last couple of years because of COVID. And then for those of you who are interested in traveling to Far West Regionals and attending a regional tournament, you need to do that by participating in the state cups. But for those officials that do go through that advanced training, passing fitness tests, do get looked at for that opportunity. This here just outlines the levels of officials, which you can also find on the state website. Game time management. So as we get into league play, especially for those of you at Starfire, but I know at other fields, as field complexes or fields themselves, it is important that we are starting games on time. As I said, we are the CEO of the game and we need to make sure games start on time. If we need to, we may need to shorten halves to make sure that we keep things on time and we're communicating that with coaches. I also encourage you that when you do go to a soccer complex, that you probably keep your games close to the same field so you're not having to add travel time between field 5 and field 11 at Starfire, which probably takes more than 5 minutes. It's important that you keep your game within the time frame that it is supposed to be scheduled in, because it's not fair that if you take an extra half hour, the next client that has rented that field shouldn't be bumped an extra half hour as well because they paid for their field to start at a certain time. So remember, we're about to begin 3.5 months of games. So pace yourself, challenge yourself, reach out to your assigners or your mentors for help. Please don't get hurt. And find a friend that you want to referee with that for high school or on the weekends and make it a little bit more fun with people that you know. And with that, I'll just ask, is there any last questions before we go?
Nothing in the chat.
Well, fantastic. I appreciate everyone hanging in there a little longer tonight. I hope that something that we went through was beneficial and will be useful for you in the coming months of being successful as an official. So with that, everyone, good night.
Richard, thanks.
Thanks, Richard.